welcome to snowy Salt Lake City. We've got the beautiful Wasatch Mountains outside, but today we're inside Momentum Indoor Climbing Salt Lake, ready to watch America's best climbers tackle some man-made mountains in the 2019 USA Climbing Combined Invitational, the first step on the way to the 2020 Olympics in Tokyo. Alongside former U.S. National Climbing Team member Megan Martin, I'm Sam Farber. It is a pleasure and a privilege to have you with us here today. Well, Megan, exciting times for the sport of climbing, as for the first time in 2020, this will be an Olympic sport.
Exactly. So we've been waiting for this for so long, and here today we will see the combined format, which is what we're going to see in the 2020 Olympics, and this is the first time some of these competitors are competing in this format.
And it is an important step on your journey to try and make the Olympic team, but today in particular, they're not competing for a spot, but certainly to get a leg up on the competition.
Exactly. All these competitors are trying to get a spot on the U.S. team for the upcoming World Cup season. So as long as they can compete internationally, they'll have a chance to qualify for the 2020 Olympics.
Well, let's talk about how you succeed over the course of the weekend. There are 3 disciplines in climbing: speed, fast up the wall sport, a little bit more difficult; bouldering, the most difficult problems. How do they figure out who the winner is at the end of the weekend?
So each athlete will compete in each discipline, and they'll get ranked after each qualification, and then those rankings will be multiplied by each other in order to figure out which top 8 men and top 8 women will make it to the final.
To make the math simple for you, first place in all 3, 1 times 1 times 1 is a low number. Higher the number is, the worse your spot is. So you want to try and keep that number low at the end of the weekend. Let's take a look at the schedule of events. It all culminates on Sunday with our combined final, but to get there, you have to do well in qualifications. We'll kick it off with a speed qualification first today, followed by sport, and tomorrow is bouldering for the men and the women. Well, we're ready to get things started here in Salt Lake City with the quickest climbers in the country. Speed qualifying kicking off competition next on day 1 of the 2019 USA Climbing Combined Invitational. Exploration since 1966. Well, the weather outside is indeed frightful, but the fans in here are looking forward to the start of the 2019 USA Climbing Combined Invitational. We've got the women ready to compete, and here is a look at the start list for the qualifications. Megan, who are some of the athletes we want to keep an eye on throughout the day here, especially in speed?
So we have a few speed specialists. Piper Kelly is our national record holder, so we definitely want to keep an eye out for her. Another specialist is Amanda Wooten, and Claire Buyerfine I would call a specialist too, even though she's overall a very good contender.
What's going to happen is they're going to tackle this wall, and even though it's a 15-meter wall, would take the average first-time climber a minute or 2 to make their way up at least. These young women are expected to climb it in 10 seconds or less. It's going to be very fast.
Really fast, really exciting.
Now, the way this works, each athlete gets 2 shots at the wall, and the best time wins. We'll explain false starts in a little bit. Here's Amanda Wooten. We'll start off on Route A. And Ashima Shirishi, one of the favorites in the overall competition, 17 years old from New York City.
Exactly. She's just started training speed in the last couple years, so I'm excited to see how that's going to work out for her.
We are ready to kick things off here, our first heat of speed qualification.
Really powerful start from Amanda.
Pulling away early, halfway up the wall. Slight stumble there.
Wow, 9.73, that's a very good time.
Ashima Shirishi hung up a bit. She taps at 14.8 unofficially. Now, it is the best time out of the 2. So even though Ashima did not have her strongest run there, that's not necessarily the time she'll keep.
Correct. She has another chance at a faster time. As you can see at the beginning, Amanda really pulls out in front. She's a super powerful start, and then she keeps her rhythm. A small slip coming up, and she recovers. And I think the 9 time is always good, and you want to have 1 good run under your belt. So that's very successful for both athletes.
Next 2 athletes up to the wall are Margot Hayes and Sammy Singleton. Make make their preparations, make sure the start pad is where they want it. Margot Hayes, not known necessarily as a big-time speedster, but certainly one of the favorites overall.
Definitely an overall favorite. She has been working on speed the last couple years, as a lot of these athletes have, because it's necessary. So I'm looking for a time around the 12s for her, and that would be a really good time.
Sammy Singleton, a teenager, one of the youngest competitors today here in Salt Lake City.
Ready.
Both off to a clean start. Oh, Sammy had a little mess up at the beginning. Just got to find the rhythm. Margot's got a really good rhythm. This could be one of her better times, actually. Oh, low 12, very good for her. Not as good of a time for Sammy. She can definitely go faster, but get the kinks out of the way on that first run.
Sammy Singleton, 13.25. Here's a look at the start.
You see Sammy kind of slips at the beginning of the start, but Margot has a good rhythm pretty much the whole way through. Nice, clean runs.
One thing to keep in mind, this route is the same at all speed competitions. So even though it looks very difficult for some of us watching it for the first time, and it is difficult, it is something that these athletes, if they're competing in this format, are familiar with.
Correct. They've practiced on the wall, some more than others, but in a competition, it's supposed to be the standardized route. So they know what they're doing, and it should be more routine, kind of like track and field.
Natalia Grossman and Piper Kelly are next up on the wall. Piper is the national record holder in speed at a time of 8.46 seconds. She can really fly.
Super fast.
Climbers on your mark.
What time do you expect from her on this one?
Definitely a 9, if not an 8 of sorts.
Ready.
An 8 would be awesome for her first run. Really good start. Nice rhythm. Both of them have a very nice rhythm. Wow.
Seems to be floating up
really
the
floating.
wall. Taps it
8.79. Awesome. She kept her rhythm the whole time. Both athletes did, actually. Natalia is also a pretty good speed climber, but Piper Kelly is definitely the one to watch in speed.
So Piper Kelly establishes the new time to beat. Remember, it is the best time that you have. False starts do become a factor later on if you accumulate too many. But the fastest time is what we're looking for.
Their starts are both powerful. They keep the rhythm. You see how her foot just like went right to the hold. It's pretty crazy how that happens.
And some of these elite speedsters, they just know the route. We were talking before the competition. It's a lot like hurdlers in track and field. They know exactly how many steps they're supposed to take before they hit that hurdle. These athletes know exactly where those positions are.
They can run the route in their head and know exactly where their hands and feet need to go.
Next up on the wall, we've got Kyra Condi, 22 years old from Minnesota. She'll take on Michaela Kirsch, who is a Chicago-born athlete, but lives right here in Salt Lake City.
Correct. Kyra's a pretty fast speed climber, so I'm expecting a good time from her.
Both these athletes expected to be in the mix for the finals on Sunday. And a false start here on Michaela Kirsch.
She's definitely, just a little too early. You have to wait for that third beep. You can't jump it.
And the timing is something that they're all used to, but so are track and field specialists, and they false start all the time.
Yeah. So they'll get another shot.
Ready.
There we go. Good explosiveness from Kyra at the beginning. She's got a good rhythm going. So far, all of her foot placements have been super on. Wow, 9.5. That's a great time for her.
Michaela will tap at 14.03. How much of that false start do you think factors into her time? Because if she has a second, she's DQ'd. She'll finish dead last in this event.
Exactly. So if you notice at the beginning of the run, she definitely waited a little bit longer because she wanted to make sure she didn't false start again. Kyra was already up at the second hold by the time Michaela had her first foot up at the first hold. So you definitely have to think about it because you don't want two false starts. You need a time and a break in order to be in this competition.
Kyra Condi now with the second fastest overall time so far. We We are roughly halfway through the first shot at the wall for both these competitors. Both the left and right sides are identical, so it's not as if one wall should, in theory, be faster than the other.
Exactly.
Here we've got Maggie Hammer. Had her birthday just a couple of days ago. She is one of the smaller athletes in the field, 5'1", 93 pounds. And on the other side, Lisa Chulich, who's one of the older athletes. In fact, she is the oldest athlete in competition today at 26.
Yep, Maggie definitely likes speed. Both her and her brother Max are really good at speed, so it'll be an exciting race for her.
Ready.
Clean start for both.
Yep. Maggie's got a really good rhythm. She is smaller, so you'll notice she does things a little differently. Maybe has to grab a few more holds than other athletes, but that's a really good time for her.
11.63 for Maggie, 16.05. That is the slowest time so far today from Lisa Chulich. Maggie Hammer, you mentioned her being smaller. It seems like she is jumping more, leaving the wall more than some of those taller athletes.
Exactly. She has to grab a few more holds. She's jumping more. But she had a really good, powerful start, which she needs, and she kept her rhythm the whole way, no slip-ups. So I'm sure she'll be happy with a clean run.
This is speed qualifications in the 2019 USA Climbing Combined Invitational. Part one of our three-part puzzle to determine who is going to make their way into Sunday's combined finals, where they'll be tackling this speed wall once again. Ready for our next athletes up on the wall. On side A, it's Elizabeth Sepulveda, one of the youngest athletes in the field at just 16 years old. So one of the shorter athletes. Sierra Blair Coyle on the other side. She is considered a solid favorite to be in the mix for the final 8 spots on Sunday.
Climbers on your mark.
I'm excited to see what she does in speed. She's never competed speed before. I know she's been working on it, and she's pretty tall, so that's going to help her for sure. Good clean start. Elizabeth off to a really good rhythm. A little hiccup at the beginning for Sierra, but she's recovering.
Sepulveda pulling away.
Yep.
A little hung up there at the end.
Oh, man.
Does
wow.
tap at 13.15 and a fall for Sierra Blair Coyle.
So she's really going to need to be careful for her next run, because if you don't get a time, there's no way.
So something to keep an eye on. Did not finish for Sierra Blair Coyle. Lisa Chulich, the time before, had a false start.
At the beginning with Sierra, she slips and then has a hard time finding her rhythm again. I think that goes back to just having not as much speed experience. Elizabeth, on the other hand, had a little slip at the end, but was able to recover pretty quickly. And unfortunately, Sierra was not able to get to the buzzer. So hoping for that next run.
Next up, 2 of the youngest athletes in the competition today. In fact, we've got the youngest competitor, at least for the women. On side A, it is Taya Wolf, 16 years old from Ventura, California. And on side B, Route B, it is Mia Bowendi, also 16 years old, but slightly earlier birthday in the calendar.
And Mia has been a very successful youth speed competitor, so I'm expecting a pretty good run from her.
Most sports, 16 is still youth.
Generally.
Ready.
Really good start from Mia. Nice and explosive. Hitting all the feet so far.
Taking a 3 body length lead
there. But that's still a good time. 10s and 11s are always good. And time up there for Taya. First run, you're really just making sure you can get a time, because you don't want the pressure on in that second run.
So both athletes get a time up on the board. Mia Bowendi at 10.73.
Mia had a very good start, super powerful, hitting all those feet. Found her rhythm early with a little slip coming up, I think. Yep, right there, just a little slip. And then she recovered very nicely and was able to finish with a pretty good run.
Time to beat today still belongs to Piper Kelly, who is the national record holder. Her national record is 8.46 today in her first run, went at 8.79, so she can really let it go in attempt number 2.
Definitely excited to see what she has on the other route.
She's still about 5 heats away from her second trial. Next up is Isabel Gifford. And on the other side, Sienna Kopf.
Both of these athletes are pretty good at speed. They have been training it a little more than most.
Climbers on your
so
mark.
I think this will be a good race between the two of them, as long as everything's clean, right?
Sienna is considered one of the, coming in, one of maybe those bubble athletes to be in the top 8, so
Totally.
she needs a good performance here.
Exactly. Clean start. Cece early on with a good rhythm. Very good rhythm. Isabel's a little slower, but good rhythm still. Wow, under 10. That's amazing. Really good first run. She's definitely really happy with that. All smiles on the way down.
In my book, that's the 4th fastest time so far today for Sienna Kopf.
Definitely good for her.
All smiles at the bottom.
She had a really good start. She found her rhythm so early, hitting every hold just the way she needed to, never really slowing down. So she has to be so excited with that run. It's very, very impressive.
So Sienna Kopf in the top 5 right now. Next up, we'll have Brooke Rabatou, who is one of the smaller climbers in the field. She's on the left side of your screen. Rabatou at 5'1", just 100 pounds from nearby Boulder, Colorado. On the other side, Maya Madir.
And Brooke's another one of those athletes that has a really good shot at the overall, but speed is not her specialty, but she's still pretty good at it. So as long as she gets a couple good runs in, she could be a contender.
Ready.
Really clean start. A little more jumping from Brooke, being one of the shorter competitors. That is a great time for her. Usually around 10s. She has to be really happy with that.
Just the 5th athlete to go sub 10 seconds.
Definitely a good spot. They both had a clean start. I feel like once you have a clean start, it's easier to kind of keep your rhythm going. And they both did a really good job of that. And this year at Speed Nationals, Maya actually did not get a time. So I'm sure she's really happy to have a time this event.
Next up, we're going to see our first athlete tackle the wall a second time. Amanda Wooten will be on the right side, and our last time looking at an athlete for the first time on the women's competition, Claire Burfind. Burfind is one of the taller athletes in the competition at 5'10", but definitely one of the faster out there. Amanda Wooten had one of the best times in her first run at 9.73, so she can really let it go here, see what she can do.
This will be a really good race. Claire is definitely a front runner for the overall, and she was the speed and sport national champion this past season, so I'm expecting a really good race from these two.
Again, Amanda Wooten will be on the right. She already has a time. This is her second and final attempt. Claire Burfind, first time on the wall today.
Good clean start from both of them. Kind of going back and forth on this one. Very exciting. Ooh, Amanda gets it. Wow, sub 9. She's gonna be so happy with that.
Outstanding run from Amanda Wooten at 8.68.
That might even be a PR for her.
That is the time to beat now, and is about a quarter of a second off the national record.
Very impressive.
She's happy. She gets confirmation that her score is good. So she is your leader right now. Amanda Wooten at 8.68 seconds is your leader about halfway through here. Lawrenceville, Georgia, Amanda Wooten in the top spot. We'll come back with the second half of women's speed qualifications here in Salt Lake City. The 2019 USA Climbing Combined Invitational is brought to you by The North Face, inspiring and enabling exploration since 1966. Sam Farber and Megan Martin here with you in Salt Lake City. It is speed qualifications. All of our female athletes have had at least one shot at the wall, and the only one who has taken 2 tries, Amanda Wooten, has set the new time to beat at 8.68 seconds. And we'll get our second look at Ashima Shirishi and Margot Hayes. Shirishi had one of the slower times her first time out. So did Margot Hayes, actually. So they both have a score on the board, but both are going to be looking to really move up the leaderboard here.
Yeah, for these specific athletes, they are 2 top picks for the overall, so really they're just trying to get a good score in. They both did that in their first run, so I expect these women to both try really hard to go as fast as they can in this one.
Now, since all 3 elements of the competition are worth the same, where do you have to be at the end of speed to have a shot? You have to be top 15, top 10?
Well, you at least have to have a score,
Right.
so that's
That
the
helps.
most important.
Both off to clean starts here.
Already it looks a little bit faster than last time. I think they both had a few slips last time, so they're definitely in a better rhythm this time.
Hayes tapping
I think
11.42.
it was a faster time for both of them.
Hayes beating her previous time by about 3/4 of a second.
Yeah, for these 2 athletes specifically, I think as long as they're in the top 10, maybe even top 15, I think more top 10, and they should be okay because they're going to do really well in bouldering and sport climbing.
Seeing the replays, where did Margot really shave that 3/4 of a second off?
I think she had a little foot slip on that first one, and I think she was just more on it this time. Definitely a cleaner run from her.
Next up, Sammy Singleton and Natalia Grossman both had, again, slower times, 10 seconds and above in their first run through. Sammy Singleton at 16, one of the younger athletes. Her previous time was about 13.25.
I'm pretty sure Natalia has been in the 9s before, and I think Sammy is around 10 or 11 usually, so we should see some numbers about around there. But for their first run, I think they're in a really good position to now go all out, and that's really where everybody wants to be going into their second route during speed qualification.
Natalia Grossman, one of those
Climbers on your mark.
roughly top 10 competitors coming into today. So again, a good performance here in speed will go a long way to making sure she's in that top 8 and makes the finals on Sunday.
Exactly. Good start. Natalia's got a really good rhythm. Ooh, oh,
Slight
little
slip for Grossman.
Good recovery.
About 10.75. So a slight improvement for
With-
Natalia Grossman.
Unfortunately, that slip would have saved her a bit of time, but I'm sure she's happy with the fact that she at least hit the buzzer still and was under her previous time.
Sammy Singleton also gets about a 1.5 seconds faster.
The start was really clean, and then about 3/4 of the way, she has like a little slip, and then she has to recover. Very good recovery, though, because it looks easy when you recover well, but when you don't, you can see how terribly wrong it can go.
Well, next up should be one of the fastest heats we see today. Piper Kelly, who is the national record holder, and for a moment had the fastest time of the day at 8.79. She'll be on the left. And Kyra Condi, who finished sub 10 seconds and is one of the overall favorites as well, she is on the right.
I'm guessing Piper will be a lot faster this time, and I'm sure she wants another record, so hopefully we get to see that happen here.
8.68 is the time to beat. The national record held by Piper Kelly is 8.46 seconds.
Ready.
Very fast start for Piper Kelly.
And clean starts for both of them. Oh, slip for Kyra, but Piper is definitely still on a roll.
We'll be looking at a record. Oh, just missed it. Piper Kelly,
So close.
100th of a second off the national record.
That's really good consistency for her, though. She has to be happy with having a faster time than the first run as well. Little slip for Kyra there early on, which definitely kind of messed up her rhythm, but I think, she kind of hit the wall there when she slipped too, making it a little harder to recover, but Piper was just in a great rhythm. You can see her on the way down. She's like, I was so close.
So Kyra Condi did not finish, came off the wall, so her second heat obviously doesn't count. 9.50, a solid time from her first run, and a near record from Piper Kelly. Next up, Michaela Kirsch, who had one of the slower times in her first go-around, so she's looking to improve for sure. Maggie Hammer also was above 11 seconds. I don't think either are going to challenge Piper Kelly, but both certainly looking for a better performance in their second go of it.
Most definitely. And Michaela had a false start earlier, so she needs to be very careful on this run, because one more false start and she doesn't
finish
have
last.
a score.
Ready.
Clean start. You could see she definitely was very slow on the start, just to guarantee the clean start.
Maggie Hammer pulling away.
Pretty good rhythm for her. Nice. Better score for Michaela as well.
11.38 for Maggie Hammer. About a third of a second better than her first time at it. Michaela Kirsch drops her time down into the 13s. Still one of the slower overall scores, but better than her first time.
You see at the beginning, she slowly puts her foot on just to make sure that she didn't false start and didn't fall. Maggie has a really nice rhythm. Still one of the shorter competitors, so you see lots of jumping. But good clean run for both of them.
Got 5 heats left to go here in women's speed qualifying. Sam Farber, Megan Martin here with you in Salt Lake City at the 2019 USA Climbing Combined Invitational. Lisa Chulich will be on the left side in this heat. Her initial time 16.05, the slowest in the first round. Elizabeth Sepulveda will be on the right. She finished at 13.15, which was kind of back half of the pack.
Climbers on your mark.
Lisa really needs to improve her score on this run. It might be kind of difficult, but I'm sure she'll give it all she got.
Ready.
So one of the older competitors too at 26. Clean start.
Really nice for Elizabeth. She has, she's kind of slow on the dyno there, which is when you jump from one hold to another hold. She kind of got stuck as she caught it, slowed her down a bit, but good recovery. And, oh no.
And a miss from Lisa Chulich. She did have a time from the first heat, but it was the slowest time on the board, so that is a really tough break for Lisa Chulich.
Yeah, unfortunately, she will not be set up so well going into sport climbing qualification, but a time is better than no time, so.
Elizabeth Sepulveda 2 seconds better.
Kind of got stuck there for a second, but good recovery for Elizabeth. And a big jump, and unfortunately a miss. Oof.
It would have taken about a second off her time. Quite honestly, though, it still would have been one of the slowest times on the board. So not a ton of damage done, although you always like to finish.
Exactly. And she's one of the competitors who has not as much speed experience. So going into it, I think her main goal was to just get a time.
It's certainly going to be important for Sierra Blair Coyle. She did not get a time in her first heat, so she needs one here.
Yes, it's going to be very important for her, and I'm going to guess she plays it pretty safe on this one.
Taya Wolf, one of the younger competitors in today's competition, she had 14.66. So a lot of work to do for both these athletes if they want a shot at the combined final on Sunday.
Clean start for both of them. Looks like Sierra's definitely taking it a little more cautiously this time. They both actually are. They were in unison there for a second.
Synchronized climbing. Oh, near fall.
And she's got a time.
So Sierra Blair Coyle avoids disaster. It's still not a great time, but she'll avoid last place. Taya Wolf improves by about 3/4 of a second from her first run.
That has to be a relief for Sierra, though I know slipping at the very end must have been pretty frustrating, because that is definitely not the time she was aiming for. She's looking good, and then, oof, such a very good save, though. She could have easily gone off right there. Those holds look very good, but they're actually not that great.
And you see the athletes are roped in, but they're not being held up at all. They're doing all the work themselves. So just because there is some support there in case they were to fall, it's not as if they're getting helped up the wall.
Exactly, and if anything, when you kind of slip, it's easier to be pushed off by the rope, depending on where it is, if it gets caught on your arm or your hand. So it's kind of hard to save yourself when you're slipping. So that was very impressive from Sierra, and I'm sure she's really happy that she has a score now.
Mia Bowendi and Isabel Gifford up next. Bowendi on the left had a time of 10.73 in her first run. Isabel on the right was 11.98 in her first run at the speed course.
Really powerful start from Mia. Nice rhythm.
Slip.
Oh, no.
Isabel Gifford did not finish. Great time for Mia Bowendi, sub 10 seconds.
She's definitely going to be really happy with that time. Definitely an unfortunate slip there for Isabel, but she had a time before. Maybe not her best time, but at least it was in the 11s, correct?
It was. 11.98, just in there.
Big slip coming up. Ugh. She kind of had a double slip there. She slipped and then she caught herself and then tried to jump and slipped again.
For Mia Bowendi, that time puts her currently in the top 8 in the speed qualification unofficially. I got her at 7th right now, so we'll keep an eye on that. Sienna Kopp is up next on the left. She had one of those sub 10-second times at 9.69. On the other side,
I believe Brooke Rabitou did as well.
Yep, she was 9.94.
This will be a really exciting race if they can do what they did in the first race.
Which one of these is capable of an 8?
I mean, I think they both are, but I most likely Cece, or Sienna. She goes by Cece sometimes.
Timers on your mark.
Here, come on, Cece from the crowd. She is one of the favorites to make the final.
Ready.
Clean start from both of them. Looked like,
almost in sync.
Yeah, Sienna kind of looked like she got a little hung up at the beginning, but
almost identical times.
And this is what we can look forward to in the final when we see people racing with similar times.
Brooke Rabitou shaves over half a second off her time. Sienna Kopp drops hers by about a third of a second.
They were almost in unison from the start. Really good rhythm from both of them. It's interesting because they're very different heights too, and you can kind of see that, but Brooke was able to use her momentum and kind of edge out Cece at the top.
What's that feeling when you have a really solid run and you look up and you're 0.03 of a second slower than the person next to you?
Well, for the person who's winning, I feel like it's relief, and the other person is like, so close.
This will be our last heat for women's qualifications. Maya Madir is on the left side. She was close to 12 seconds in her first run. Claire Burfine was in the 9s, so this is a real opportunity for her to let it go. She is considered one of the best speed climbers in the country.
Claire will definitely be looking to get into the 8s in this
Timers
run.
on your mark.
I think entering this run with a solid race will boost her up and make her get up there really quick.
Time to beat is 8.47 posted by Piper Kelly, 1/100th of a second slower than the national record. Clean start.
Very clean start. Claire's off to a very good rhythm. Moving really quickly, hitting everything perfectly. Oh,
she missed the buzzer. Both did.
Oh no. They would definitely be more upset if they didn't already have a score, but I think that given the fact that Claire had a really good score in her first run and Maya's was okay, I think they'll be happy enough with that.
So both will go with a did not finish on their second run. And a little bit of disbelief, both of them are. But our winner in qualifications is Piper Kelly, 8.47, 1/100th of a second off of her own national record. Speed qualifying is in the books for the women here in Salt Lake City. Of our 19 competitors, 7 finished unofficially under 10 seconds, but one was faster than everyone and almost the fastest time ever for an American, Piper Kelly. She's downstairs with Megan Martin.
Thanks, Sam. Hey, Piper, that was an amazing race. You were 100th of a second from your record. How do you feel?
I'm excited. It's super exciting to finally be going fast in competitions. And again, I've been going fast in training, but I've been having some trouble doing it in competition. So this is twice now that I've done really well in competition. So it's exciting that it's paying off.
I have to think that the consistency definitely makes you feel better going into hopefully getting to do the combined final later.
It does for sure. Speed, it's about going fast, but it's also a lot about consistency because you can always lose to someone who's slower than you if you slip or fall off the wall. So being consistent in competition is always super helpful as well.
Awesome. Well, we're really excited for you, and it was awesome to see you go so fast, and we can't wait to see you climb later.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Back to you, Sam.
All right, thank you, Megan. Piper Kelly, 1/100th of a second off a national record, but best time of the day. She's still got 2 more competitions left here in our 2019 USA Climbing Combined Invitational. The men, they're going to tackle the wall next, and they can really fly up that speed wall. Welcome back to the 2019 USA Climbing Combined Invitational. We have 3 different specialties in climbing that they're going to compete at. Maggie Hammer, who you just saw, finished 10th in the speed discipline. Piper Kelly saying the time to beat at 8.47, and she wins the speed discipline.
Yeah, I'm not really surprised looking at these results because a lot of our speed specialists ended up on top just like I would have expected.
Next up are the men. Got a few extra competitors, so we'll have 12 heats on Route A and B. They are identical, and we're expecting some very fast times. Who are the athletes to watch?
You definitely want to pay attention to Max Hammer. He's a very fast speed specialist. Another one would be Noah Bracci, and Joe Goodacre and Jordan Fishman are also specialists in speed. And then for the overall, we have Nathaniel Coleman, Kai Leitner looking to get a good time.
First up on the wall, it's Thomas Pitzel on the left side, 23 years old from College Park, Maryland. And then one of the overall favorites in the competition, Zach Galla on the right. He is expected to be certainly a podium contender.
Definitely a podium contender, and after watching him in the speed practice, it looks like he's improved a lot, so I'm expecting a really good time from him as well.
Ready.
Clean start, super explosive from Zach Galla. One of the shorter competitors, so you do have to see him jumping and scrambling a bit more. I mean, 6'8",
Unbelievable.
He's definitely been practicing. That was a phenomenal run by Zach Galla. He has to be so excited. He was so powerful from the start. You'll notice that with the men versus the women, they're a little more aggressive when it comes to speed right from the start. The women played a little safer in that first run, but you saw both of these athletes came out guns blazing on this route.
The national record was set by John Brosler at 6.05 on this 15-meter wall. Zach Galla at 6.83, a very fast time to start. Thomas Pitzel not bad either at 7.49. Next up, we've got Sean Bailey, who is one of our overall favorites in the competition, although not necessarily considered a speed specialist. 21 years old from Seattle, Washington. He is definitely an overall favorite. And on the right side, it'll be John Brosler, who does have that record at 6.05.
Yeah, right now we have the 2018 sport climbing champion with Sean Bailey and the 2018 speed champion with John Brosler. So this will be a good race. Looking for something amazing from John.
If you thought that Zach Galla was the favorite, or was the time flying up there, keep an eye on the right side with John Brosler.
Good clean start from John. He looks like he's floating. He's going so fast. Oh, that's super clean. Wow. He's going to be happy with that for his first run. The hardest part with speed is there's always that, whoa, kind of just fell into the wall there. There's always that potential to slip. So anytime you have a clean run that's close to your PR, I think you're always going to be happy.
Sean Bailey did slip, so he did not finish first time through.
Yeah, so on the right, John has a really good, clean, fluid rhythm going, and he's pretty close to his PR, so he has to be really happy, and unfortunately a slip for Sean, so going to be a little more pressure going into his second run.
Now, with the men being as fast as they are, how much pressure really is on Sean to not just put up a time, but put up a good one, considering he's an overall favorite, but speed isn't his best.
Speed isn't his best, but he is more middle of the pack speed, so as long as he can be there, I think he'll be set up well for the sport and bouldering disciplines.
Up next, Kai Leitner, who at 6'2", 175 is one of the bigger athletes in the competition, but definitely a favorite to make it to Sunday. Joe Goodacre is going to be on the right.
Joe's one of our younger competitors. He is what I would call a speed specialist as well. He's had times in the 6s, so I'm expecting something pretty fast from him. Kai, probably around 7-ish.
Climbers on your mark.
Something to keep an eye out for Kai. He has the largest wingspan in the field. So his reach gives him a definite advantage in all 3 of the disciplines.
Really good clean start. See that rhythm on the right from Joe. He's going really fast. Oh, wow.
6'5", 9.
Just as I would expect. Very good clean runs from both of them. They have to be really happy with that.
6'5", 9, the second fastest time so far for the men, and really overall in speed qualifying. Kai Leitner at 7'2", 8, solid.
It's going to be a really good score for him going into the other disciplines. They were super explosive at the top. You see that Joe pulls away because his rhythm's just a little bit faster, but Kai kept it clean, and they both end up with a pretty good score.
Probably just a coincidence, considering we've had a lot of fast athletes on the right side so far, but all 3 have been under 7 seconds. In competition, is there ever a fast side and a slow side to the wall?
I don't really think there is. I think it's more in your head.
More mental than anything. All right. Well, next up, Joe Diaz on the left side. And then Nathaniel Coleman, who is one of our overall favorites. There's Joe Diaz, 22 years old, from Granite Bay, California. Nathaniel, a youngster, just turned 17 less than 2 weeks ago.
No, he's 20.
Oh, sorry, wrong athlete. I'm looking at Joe Goodacre. My mistake.
No worries.
But Nathaniel Coleman is one of the overall favorites in the competition.
Definitely an overall favorite. So his focus will be getting a time, and then we'll probably see him more middle of the pack, although he could have been training more than I know about. So
keeps ahead early.
good rhythm from him.
Yep. 7'6", 9.
That's a very good score for him. He obviously, I think it must be a PR or something. He seems extremely excited about that run.
Both of these athletes on the slower side for what we've seen so far today. Remember, in this speed competition, you get 2 runs. Your best time is what counts.
Nathaniel was super powerful at the start. You see he was grabbing everything with like 1 hand. You notice the girls would have 2 hands, which is called a match often on the speed route, whereas the men can just grab one and keep going. It's pretty interesting.
Nathaniel Coleman, one of the overall best climbers around. Very happy with that speed time. And for the elite performers so far, speed can be something new. It's not necessarily something that they competed in a lot before this year.
Correct. A lot of the top athletes in bouldering and sport climbing are not necessarily very experienced speed climbers, so there's kind of a learning curve with that, and these athletes have been having to practice speed a bit more to improve that. But you know, if you're good at 2 disciplines already, you're kind of in a good position for the combined. So
Jordan Fishman, he'll be on the left side. Here's Noah Ridge, 23, from Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Climbers
next up to tackle the wall, Sam Farber, Megan Martin here with you at the 2019 USA Climbing Combined Invitational. This is the men's speed qualification runs.
Really powerful start for Jordan. He was second at the 2018 Sport and Speed Nationals. In speed, he was second. So he had a little slip, which I know he's not going to be happy about, but we know he can go faster than that, because in 8 with a slip like that, he'll be in the 6s next time.
So Jordan Fishman, not the time he was looking for. He's outside of the top 5 so far and is considered, as you said, one of the elite speedsters. Noah Ridge, the slowest time so far of all of our athletes who have completed the wall.
Jordan had a really good start. Unfortunately, he has a little slip, and then he's able to recover quickly, but he had to kind of readjust his feet, which kind of shaved off or added a few seconds to his time, which he's definitely not happy about, but at least it's a time. Gotta always go back to the fact that you need a time.
time to beat so far today. John Brossler, 6.32. He's also the national record holder at 6.05 on this speed wall. It's the same wall, competition to competition. We'll talk more about that in a moment. Let's talk about these athletes. Carlo Traversi, the oldest athlete today at 30 years old. And he'll go up against Xander Waller on the right side, just 15.
15 years age difference there.
Ready.
Good start for Xander. Now Carlo hasn't had a lot of practice with speed, as you can probably see, but Xander has a really good rhythm so far. And he's going to be really excited. Clearly, he's extremely excited about that time. Carlo needs the time. And this is what we love about the climbing community. Cheers all around.
So Carlo is going to be almost double the time, just like he's double the age. Xander Waller, 7.89 for Xander, 16.14 for Carlo. And you had talked about this a little bit earlier. The younger athletes are used to competing in speed, where some of the older ones are not.
Yeah, a lot of the younger athletes, when they're on the youth teams, they're required to do all 3 disciplines. And as you can see, Xander definitely had more experience, and Carlo was able to finish. Unfortunately, not a very good time. He's definitely going to need to improve, but he almost fell at one point, so he clearly just wanted that time.
We've had 3 athletes go sub-7 so far. See if we can add another one to the list. Coming up next, John Brock, one of the tallest athletes in competition. He's on the left side, 6'3", from Colleyville, Texas. And Matt Foltz, one of kind of those bubble athletes. He's a top 10 climber in this competition, but only the best 8 are going to make it to the finals on Sunday.
Exactly, and speed is another discipline for him where he doesn't have as much experience, but he is a very good climber and has a lot of experience in the other disciplines, so we'll see what he can do here.
Ready.
Clean start. They both have a really good rhythm. Matt looks like he's actually catching up because John, oh, yeah.
Very close times for both of them, both in the 8s. So that's middle of the pack so far. John Brock, some really long strokes with those long arms at 6'3", but Matt Foltz able to keep up.
Yeah, Matt definitely used all that bouldering power to get him a little bit higher than John and hit that buzzer first. You can see as he's pulling down, he's just using so much power. And he kind of right here pulls away and ends up being able to win that heat. Not that it matters if you win, we're just getting times, but.
That's right, there's no bonus points for winning your heat. It is best overall times. Again, the best one today, 6.32. We've got our next 2 athletes coming up to the wall. A few more competitors on the men's side than the women's. Next heat as Noah Bracci on the left from Potomac, Maryland. And on the right, it is Benjamin Hanna, who again, when we say bubble athletes, we're looking at athletes who are considered in that top 6 to top 10 range. Only the top 8 are going to make it. So they're in particular looking for good performances to start competition here in speed.
Exactly, and Benjamin Hanna is one of those athletes. And Noah Bracci is definitely a speed specialist. As you can see, he even has the knee pads. And he's got a really good rhythm and sub-7 time.
Outstanding time, 6.76.
Not a bad time for Ben Hanna either.
Noah Bracci posting the 3rd fastest time of the day. Ben Hanna, as you mentioned, solid at 8.60. Certainly a good number that he can really let it fly in his second heat.
Noah got off to a really good rhythm, nice, powerful, decisive movements, and never really slowed down.
His athletes are always looking up. We made the comparison to hurdling. You know how many steps you're supposed to take. They know where their feet are supposed to go. They never look down.
Yes.
They just know where their feet are going to go.
And that's why when you see people slip, they have to look down for a quick second, or sometimes they're able to get away with it without looking down. But it's a fine line, and those little seconds matter. So everyone's just trying to fix their mistakes as quickly as possible.
Colin Wills on the left side in our next run. And on the right, Drew Ruana, not a speed specialist, but one of the best overall climbers we'll see here this weekend in Salt Lake City.
Definitely looking for a good time here for Drew. because he is one of our top athletes. So a good time here would bode very well for him.
Slip right out of the gates, and another.
Sometimes it throws you off that rhythm, but he's coming back.
Still posted 8.48, great time.
He tried to hit both hands at the top. I think he might have thought he might have missed the buzzer. Better safe than sorry.
So Drew Ruana at 8.48, solid, especially considering the slips. So these athletes are trying to put up good times in speed qualifications. This is the first of 3 disciplines we'll see this weekend.
He had an early slip on here for Drew Ruana, and then he kind of just slipped again. But he was able to fix it for the top and keep his rhythm, and sub 9 is still good with 2 slips like that.
This is our men's qualification period. Keep in mind, this is step 1 for most of these athletes on a journey that they hope will end up in Tokyo, Japan at the 2020 Olympics. Can't qualify for the Olympic national team here, but you can make it onto the national team for World Cup competition in 2019. Next athlete's up, Josh Levin, who is solidly in that top 10 circle amongst American climbers. Max Hammer, a real speedster on the right side, and his sister performed very well earlier today, Maggie Hammer.
Yeah, Max is definitely a successful speed climber. He was 3rd at nationals last year, so we should see something good from him. Josh also pretty good at speed. Ooh, Josh was out there at first with a pretty big jump to the first hold. Really good rhythm from both of them. Nice finishes. Josh very happy with that sub 7 time. 6:69, probably, definitely could be a new PR for him.
It's the 5th athlete to go sub 7. Max seemed to slip early and late.
He did.
Still was in the 7, so I mean,
that shows you how fast he is.
He was very fast, and he can, if he cleans it up, he'll be one of the fastest times today.
Yeah, he definitely had a little slip, a little bobble, basically. Kind of threw him off his rhythm, but he recovered. And I feel like when you are a speed specialist, you do learn to recover your slips a little better than if you're not as experienced in the discipline.
Well, next up on the wall, one of the youngest athletes. Guess who? It's the one on the right. We got Martin Keenell on the left side, 5'7", 135 pounds, 21 years old from Scottsdale, Arizona. On the right, the youngest, shortest, lightest athlete today, Colin Duffy.
And this is only his 2nd open competition ever. So it's exciting to see him on the adult scene. Very successful youth climber, 2-time youth world champion in sport climbing. So he's pretty quick. He might be small, but he's quick for his size.
He's the future of American climbing. Let's see what his present is like. Clean start for both.
Start.
He's leaping into the front.
Pulling away pretty early. I told you he was pretty quick. Oh, little slip at the end.
8.71. The
Really
future is now. Colin Duffy. He could be even faster.
He definitely, he knows he can go faster. He had a little slip, but I think he'll be really happy having a solid time to start.
Martin Keenell, 10.22. He's got a time up on the board.
Definitely one of the slower times, but speed is not his specialty, so I'm sure he's happy with that time.
Well, now we'll have our final athlete to see the wall for the first time coming up, and our first athlete getting a second go of it. On the left is Zach Galla. His first run was 6.83, one of the handful of athletes to go under 7 seconds. Ross Fulkerson will be on the other side, and it's his first time tackling this speed wall in qualifications.
With how explosive Zach Galla was in the first run, I don't even know what we should expect from this one. He was the most powerful person so far I've seen on this route. So I'm excited to see what he brings in this run.
Our first look at Ross Fulkerson.
Another one of our younger competitors, but very successful youth climber, and he's been doing really well this year on the adult scene.
Keep an eye especially on the left, see what Zach can do. 6.83 his first run.
So explosive at the start.
A slip from Fulkerson. Oh, and a fall from Galla.
You know, I'm sure that's frustrating, but it happens, and he had such a good time in his first run, so it kind of looked like he got stuck on the rope, actually.
So Fulkerson 9.65, he posted time. Zach Galla, as you mentioned, he was one of the fastest athletes in his first run, so that did not finish. Is not going to hurt him as much as the others. Everyone else gets their second shot at the speed wall when we return to Salt Lake City. Welcome back to the 2019 USA Climbing Combined Invitational here in Salt Lake City. Sam Farber, Megan Martin with you. This is step one in the process for many of these American climbers to make their way towards the Olympic team in 2020, a new Olympic sport. You see John Brosler, who had the fastest time so far today in qualifying. He's about to tackle the wall for a second time. Thomas Pitzel, pretty fast the first time as well at 7.49. If you've put up an extremely fast time like John Brosler already, what are you doing in your second run?
In your second run, you are going to leave it all out there. You are going to go as fast as you can, and he's our current national record holder, so he wants it.
Very fast start, a slip from Pitzel. He's off the wall. What can Brosler do?
John is on it, and ooh, look at that. That was amazing. Not his fastest time, but the fastest time today so far. He has to be very happy with that.
On the women's side, we saw Piper Kelly miss the national record by 1/100th of a second. Brosler about 1/10 of a second off, but still very fast in the time to beat today.
Yeah, he was out real fast, extremely smooth. You see his feet hit the holds in perfect placement, and he just never slowed down. He has to be so happy with that. It's crazy. You almost think the auto belay system can't keep up with him. He's going so fast.
Only had 5 athletes go under 7 seconds. Brosler is the only one to do it twice so far.
And you know, he's going to be really happy with the consistency as well.
Next up, Joe Goodacre will be on the left side. He is one of the athletes that has a sub-7 second time. Just turned 17 about 2 weeks ago.
And we have Sean Bailey on the right, and he did not finish the first time, so he really needs a time here. And he's one of our top overall competitors, so this is going to be really important for him. I know he's going to want a good time, but he also needs to make sure he's cautious enough.
Really, even though Joe Goodacre might be capable of coming close to that mark, Bailey is the one to watch on the right side. He needs a time, and he needs a pretty good one if he's going to make the final on Sunday, where he would be a favorite. Clean start.
Good clean start. Joe out the gate so fast. Wow.
Slips at the end, stayed on the wall.
But a nice clean run for Bailey.
So
I think he can do a little faster, but I think he's going to be happy being in the 8s at least.
Joe Goodacre, I think, was looking at the clock and thinking, I might have a shot at this record here.
He was definitely going for the record. So fast, and then he just has a slip right here. It's barely a slip, too. Like, he almost re-grabs. If he would have re-grabbed, I think he would have been still in the 6s.
For Sean Bailey, he does post a time. So even though it's going to be roughly middle of the pack, that's okay for him as one of the best overall climbers.
Exactly. For some of these climbers, they really need to shine in speed, but Sean Bailey just needs to make sure he gets a time, and it's an average time.
Next up, Nathaniel Coleman, 7.69 in his first run. The top 10 speed climbers so far today. And Kai Leitner, one of our tallest climbers, 7.28 in his first run. And he is another one of these top 5 overall climbers here today. If he can improve on his run, he's in good shape.
Both of these climbers are looking at being successful in the overall. So being in the 7s already is really good, and hopefully they can step it up a notch in this run. Really quick start for Kai. Oh, slip though. Oh, both of them.
This run's probably not going to count for either. No, it's not.
And, you know, you could tell too when they were recovering, you know, when you see the speed specialists, it's a very quick recovery, and they're still going. Both of these athletes kind of like took a moment and then reassessed. And they both knew they already had pretty good times since they're so good at both sport and bouldering.
Usually, as an athlete, are you letting it go in the first one, and then based off what you did in the first time, then you react in your second run? Or are you conservative in your first run, and then, you know, you need to post your good time in the second run?
I was definitely always conservative in the first run, because you need to have one, and you always feel better if you have one under your belt.
We'll have to ask Noah Ridge about that. He did not have a good time in his first run. He was 13.3, one of the slowest times, so he really has some work to do to move up the leaderboard. Joe Diaz was sub 10, but again, some room for improvement for both of these athletes.
Definitely room for improvement. And again, especially for Noah, a clean run will be necessary because that 13 time really is not going to be very helpful for him.
This is both these athletes' second run in the speed qualification, speed discipline, one of 3 we'll see over the next 2 days, trying to qualify for the finals on Sunday here in Salt Lake City.
Kind of a slow start, though clean. Joe is definitely pulling away by a lot. He's definitely in a better rhythm this time, I feel like. Noah, not so much, unfortunately. I don't think it's really going to help him in this run.
Noah Ridge ends up slower, so that time's not going to factor in. Joe Diaz cuts about 3/4 of a second off of his previous time, so solid improvement as he gets into the 8s.
I feel like for the men, if speed isn't your thing, 8s and 7s are kind of where you want to be, even 9s. But if you're past 11, I feel like that is not going to bode so well for you.
Got one of our youngsters coming up next, Xander Waller. He had 7.89.
2 youngsters.
Yeah, really. It
15 and 16, right?
Neither the youngest here, but they're close. Jordan Fishman, 8.17 in his first run, one of the better overall times.
And he is going to be looking to post a time in the 6s. He slipped in his 8-second run, and he definitely needs to go faster, and he can go faster. And he was the 2nd place speed national finisher last year.
Ready.
Super fast from the start, looking a lot more smooth this time. Can he keep it together? Yes, see, in the 6s. That's exactly the kind of score that Jordan Fishman wanted to put up.
Outstanding time for Fishman. He joins the handful of athletes to go sub 7. Not our fastest time, that belongs to John Brosler at 6.18, but very strong performance. And Xander Waller at 7.88. That's 1/100th of a second faster than his first run.
He has to be really happy with that. You see that Jordan is kind of just on a mission this time. He is moving as fast as he can, and he was able to place his feet perfectly so that he didn't have any slip-ups. And Xander has to be really excited to have another 7 time, more consistency for him.
Both athletes show improvement. Jordan Fishman, much more dramatic, but still.
He did have a slip, though, in the first run, so we needed a dramatic change.
Next up, Matt Foltz. He had a time of 8.28. He'd certainly like to improve on that. Definitely Carlo Traversi wants some improvement. He had the slowest time of those athletes that completed their first run at 16.14. Carlo, our oldest athlete at 30 years old.
Carlo is a very good boulderer and a very good sport climber. So if he could just get a good time here, this would be really good for him, but I'm just not so sure if it's gonna happen. He's definitely moving faster already, though. If he could just, oh no, a fall for Matt.
So what can Carlo do?
He just got, he has to do better than 16.
14.05. So he cuts 2 seconds off of his time.
But I don't think that's really going to help him in the ranking, unfortunately.
It is still the slowest time on the board amongst best finishes for our athletes today.
That's definitely going to be a problem going into the other disciplines because now he's going to have to make up so much for it.
Well, both of our next 2 athletes were in the 8s in their first runs. Sam Farber, Megan Martin here. We're at speed qualifications at Monument Indoor Climbing in Salt Lake. Benjamin Hanna, 8.60 in his first run. And John Brock, 8.40. John, one of the tallest athletes, actually the tallest athlete in competition at 6'3".
Yeah, I'm looking for faster runs from both of these guys in this run.
Ready.
Good clean start. Ben, as you notice, he kind of just continues to gain speed. He started off kind of slow and just was under 8. He'll be happy with that.
Ben Hanna shaves a little bit more than half a second off his time. John Brock had those long strokes. Again, it looked like he was maybe in line to get a high 7s, low 8s time, and then a slight hesitation at the end.
Yeah, sometimes it's not even necessarily a foot slip. Sometimes you can grab the hold that's not in your specific sequence that you have planned out, so that can cause a little pause in your run.
The speed course, it's the same every single competition. So long as you have a 15-meter high place to practice, you're used to seeing this. Drew Ruana saw his time the first time through 8.48, very strong. Noah Bracci will be on the right side. He was in the 6s.
On your mark.
And he'll be another athlete trying to chase that national record. So let's see what he can do this time.
He wasn't really coming in considered to be one of those elite speedsters, but he certainly is now. Phenomenal start. He leaps up the wall.
Early slip for Drew.
Bracci.
Really good for Bracci.
6'5".
Very good. He has to be really happy with that. It's an unfortunate slip for Drew at the beginning, but he put up a really good time the first run. So I think, considering he's a phenomenal sport climber and a phenomenal boulderer, I think he's in a good standing.
Noah Bracci cuts a 1/4 of a second off of his time, solidly in the top 5. Drew Ruana actually slower in his second
Really
run.
explosive from Bracci. Very early slip from Drew. And Bracci's able to continue his momentum the entire way up the wall and get in a faster time.
I believe that's the second fastest time we have seen today in terms of a qualifying score for Noah Bracci at 6.50.
He's definitely going to be really excited about that one.
The only person to go faster did it twice, John Brosler. He was 6.32 in his first run. 6.18 is the time to beat. So Bracci is in second place position at the moment. We've got Max Hammer and Colin Wills up next.
Climbers on your mark.
Max Hammer is a speedster. He had a couple of slips in his first run and was still in the 7s.
Yeah, so he'll definitely be looking to improve upon his scoring this run.
Hammer on the left.
Good clean start. Moving pretty quickly. Got a good rhythm. Oh, yeah, there we go. That's what we want to see from Max Hammer. He's clearly very excited about that.
His legs are still moving.
He can't stop.
6.72, so he joins the sub-7 group here in speed qualifying.
Definitely a time that he needed to put up.
And Colin Wills at 9.75. That is not going to stand. He had 9.69 in his first run.
Max was so fast out of the gate, and he never really slowed down, and he was much more efficient with his foot placements this time, making it possible to have a sub-7 time.
It puts him in at least the top 7. Here's Colin Duffy at a time of 8.71. The 15-year-old, the youngest, smallest athlete in the competition.
But still quite speedy.
He is indeed. Just as we get the wide shot in a moment here, Josh Levin, 6'8", a very fast athlete, but you can see the size difference of these two as you see them side by side. You can tell who the youngest one is.
And Josh Levin is normally considered one of the shorter athletes anyway, so it's crazy when you're 15. You're much shorter. Really good start for Josh. Very nice rhythm. Colin's got a really good rhythm too. Wow, they're actually getting pretty close. A little slower time for Josh this time. Maybe for Colin too.
Josh Levin at 7.61 is going to keep his previous time, which was in the 6s. Colin Duffy,
that's a little
some
faster.
improvement.
Yeah.
Cuts about a 1/4 of a second off his previous time.
He looks happier with that time as well.
Last up, Ross Fulkerson and Martin Keenell. Keenell had a 10.22 time his first time out. Fulkerson had a pretty bad slip, as I recall, in his first run. Still was sub-10.
So he can definitely go faster, and we should see that from him in this run as long as he can stay with a nice, clean run.
Climbers on your mark.
I'll step up to the wall. This is our final heat of speed qualifications. And Fulkerson is on the left, Keenell on the right.
Clean start for Ross and for Martin. Really good rhythm from Ross. This is much better than his first run, so we're hoping to see a better time, and it looks like we're going to get that for him.
Fulkerson at 8.05, so dramatic improvement for him. Taking out those slips gave him a 2.5 faster time. Keenel, also some improvement.
And Ross is another one of those more bubble athletes. Very good boulderer and sport climber, more on the younger side, so just less experience. So this speed result will be good for him.
On Keenel, 9.46, he cuts 3/4 of a second off his time as well. John Brossler, the national record holder, set the time to beat today in speed qualification. Back in a moment. Preparations are already being made for sport qualifications. We just had some outstanding runs in speed on the men's side of the 23 athletes. 7 went up the speed course in 7 seconds or less. The 2 fastest times belong to the same guy, John Brossler, and he's standing by downstairs on the competition floor with Megan Martin.
Thanks, Sam. John, that was an amazing 2 runs from you. 2 sub-7 runs. How does that feel?
It feels good. I'm glad that I was able to do what I needed to do this morning to hopefully secure a spot in the final. Now just to clear my head for sport climbing and bouldering tomorrow and see what happens.
Well, we were all extremely excited to watch you speed up that wall so fast. Always great to see you be really consistent, and I can't wait to watch you later. Best of luck.
Nice. Thank you so much, Megan.
Back to you, Sam.
Thank you, Megan. John, a 21-year-old from Plano, Texas. He finishes in first place in the speed discipline. Remember, there are 3: speed, sport, and bouldering. You multiply the finishes from each 3 to get your combined score, and the lower scores, the lowest 8 scores, will move on to Sunday's final. So John Brossler's got a 1 already. That's going to help him out certainly as he tries to make his way to Sunday's final here in Salt Lake City. That's going to do it for the speed portion of our qualification competition. For Megan Martin, I'm Sam Farber saying it's been a pleasure and a privilege having you with us here in Salt Lake City for the 2019 USA Climbing Combined Invitational. Hope you'll join us for sport later on this afternoon. All competition airing on the ESPN networks are streaming live and archived on the ESPN app. This has been a presentation of ESPN.